Welcome to my channel, everyone, where we take a look at random sets from Magic the Gathering. Today we're looking at Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, a fun new little set that just came out. This last weekend was the pre-release, and unfortunately, I was unable to attend. So here we're going to go through step by step and take a look at what we're getting, what we're opening, and what we can do with it. When we can, and we're going to see what we both get. Hopefully you guys have a fun little routine with everybody. Nice little opening here. What kind of dice we got? Everybody likes to know that. Green die. I'll call this one mine. I can't remember which one's hers. So for our promo, our first promo, we got Invoke Calamity. It is a 5-drop, red, and a 1. Looks like for an instant you may cast up to 2 instants or sorcery cards with total mana value of 6 or less from your graveyard and or hand without paying their mana costs. Those spells would be put into your graveyard, exile them instead, and exile Invoke Calamity. Not too bad, not too bad. Not sure if I'm overly excited about that. Seems kind of hard in a limited environment, just because you're dealing with the 4 red mana. Really kind of puts you down one path, you know. So, for our first pack that we're digging into here, let's take a look at what we're working with. All right. So I'm going to fly through this kind of quick, and later we'll step through these cards and actually take a look at what we're more in detail, what they all look like, and what's good and bad. So, oh, you goddamn cat. All right. Okay. Onward we go. First rare, oh my god, is another one. Invoke the Calamity, again for 5 mana, 4 red and a colorless instant. You may cast up to 2 target instants or sorcery spells with total converted mana value 6 or less from your graveyard and or hand without paying their mana cost. Spells will be put into the graveyard, exile them instead, and exile Invoke Calamity. Wow, okay, well maybe we might have to consider that now. And our rare is Tatsunari Toad Rider. Fun. For 3 mana. It is a 3/3 rare. Legendary creature, human ninja, of course. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named... What? Kaime. Create Kaime, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog creature token with... Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, for each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Meh. Not too bad in a set that is full of enchantments. And for a colorless and a blue-green hybrid, Tatsunari Toad Rider and target frog you control can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with flying and or reach. Oh, fun. Crazy frog. Fun times. And our rare is Ryu Storm's Edge for 4 mana, 2 and a red and a white. We get a first striker, 3/3. Whenever samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, untap it. If it's the first combat phase of the turn, there is an additional combat phase after this phase. Wow, additional combat phases. That seems pretty fun in a limited environment. And Secluded Courtyard. Neat. Oh my god. Is that the rare? Where's our rare? Oh my god, we missed the rare. Hey, cool! Our first mythic. There we go. Junji, the Midnight Sky. That is our Dragon Spirit Lord. Mythic. That's pretty fun. So, for 5 mana, a legendary Dragon Spirit, we get a Flying Menace. When Junji, the Midnight Sky, dies, choose 1. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. That's pretty fun. And then, or you may put target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. That ain't bad. For 5/5 Menace Flying, for 5, yeah, that seems okay with an upside on death. Wow, that guy is crazy. And our rare being, nice, the Channel Land. Okay, so it's a legendary land. Enters the battlefield. You can tap for swamp if you want. And they brought back the mechanic called Channel. It is pay 4, discard Takanuma. We're going with that. Takanuma, Abandoned Mire. Mill 3 cards. Then return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Wow. Okay, I know these channel lands are actually going to be pretty neat. I know there's a couple I'm looking out for. This one will be super fun to play with moving forward. So we have the Restoration of Eiganjo. It's a 3-mana saga mythic. Okay. So our first saga says, search your library for a Plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Not too bad, not too great for 3 mana on the first one, but we're moving on. You may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Okay, alright, so our third one flips it into a Vigilance. Whenever Architect of Restoration attacks or blocks, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Alright, it's a 3/4. You know, not too bad. Oh, it's not a mythic, that's why. The lighting's all weird here. It is a rare. That makes more sense. So, playable. Not too bad. I know they've been working with a couple of red-white things here. Maybe we might be looking down that path. Cool. So there we have it. Pack 1. It's probably what I'm going to be playing with. Or maybe the girlfriend. We'll see. We'll see which one she enjoys the most. So we'll put this little bugger over here. And we'll actually take a look here at what our other pack can do for us. Is it a different dice? It's a different dice. It's blue dice. Very pretty. Very pretty little blue dice. Oh, cool. Okay, so our promo card for the second pack is... Oh, it's not going to focus on it. Ishin 2 Heavens as 1 is a Mardu, or red-white-black creature, 3/4. It says, if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. He is a legendary creature, human samurai. Look at him go. Oh, he's just crazy. So that's pretty fun. That could be quite useful, especially in this set. So, okay, we'll take a look at pack 1. See if we actually have any purpose for that promo card. Hey, Light Paws Emperor's Voice, a nice little 2-mana Fox Advisor, 2/2. That says, when an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less than or equal to that aura and with a different name than each aura you control. Put that card onto the battlefield, attached to Light Paws Emperor's Voice, then shuffle. Ah, kind of a cool little aura searcher thing. Oh my lord. Okay, so again, we are stuck with back-to-back rare and promos in the same pack. So that is weird. So our rare again is Ishin, 2 Heavens as 1. Again, 3 mana, 3/4. Basically double your attacking triggers. So again, I guess we might have to look at that kind of build. And our rare is Thousand Face Shadow for 1-drop. 1/1, Ninjutsu 4. Here we go. Let's explain this. So Ninjutsu says, for 4 mana, return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and taken in its place. And when that happens, it has flying. When Thousand Face Shadow enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. That token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. Wow, that's kind of cool. That gets kind of crazy pretty quick. And our rare is Inventive Iteration, which is another saga that says, for 4 mana, first one being return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Second one being return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. That's kind of nice. And then it flips into a Living Breakthrough, which is a flying 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until your next turn. That's pretty funky. Yeah, you can get kind of weird with that one. And our rare being Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa, which is a 4 mana 3/3 flash. Wow, that's kind of nifty. Flying. that says when Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa, enters the battlefield, another target permanent you control gains indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. And for Wooburg, you can tap, he gets 5/5 until end of turn. Not too bad. So intense. And our final rare of the pack is Fable of Mirror Breaker, which is a 3 mana saga that says create a 2/2 red goblin shaman creature token with when this creature attacks, create a treasure token. Second one says you may discard up to 2 cards. If you do, draw that many cards. Now, that's kind of nifty. And finally, it flips into Reflection of the Kikijiki, an enchantment creature, Goblin Shaman 2/2 that says pay 1 and tap, create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control, except it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Not too bad. Fun. So, at this point in time, we're gonna reconvene here in a little bit. We're gonna take a look at everything that we're working with and kind of walk through our cards and get a better idea of what looks like the best deck to work with for each of these packs, and then we'll come back and see where we're at. All right, welcome back. As you can see here, we kind of got things broke down into categories, into good and bad, rares that we're looking at, and just kind of the good down here in the bottom. First things first, I do want to apologize. It is a little windy outside, so if you hear something in the back, just forget it, ignore it. We'll get through it together. Secondly, full disclosure, I have not actually played this set yet. I haven't done Arena. I haven't actually played a physical pre-release, no drafts. So please take everything I say with a grain of salt. Rip me up in the comments for anything that I've said incorrectly. I don't care. We're learning through this together. I, again, have not played this, so I'm curious to see how this all looks. I kind of did a quick run-through and tried to see what looked worth playing, but we'll walk through this. Let me know what you think in the comments, if it's good and bad, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, quick recap. The rares that we're working with here are Junji, the Midnight Sky. Obviously a good hit. Flying Menace 5/5. Does a bunch of stuff when he dies. Can't really go wrong with him. Just at base value, being a flying 5/5 is annoying. Secondly, we got Tatsunari Toad Rider. Everybody loves a good Toad Rider. He is a 3/3 for a 3 mana. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kimi, create Kimi, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog. It says whenever you cast an enchantment, if one loses life, you gain life. You can pay 1 and a green/blue to give that toad in unblockable, except by flying or reach for a turn, which is fine, nothing too bad. We did get the black channel land as well. I think that's just good land. If it has an opportunity to be played as a channel land, fine, great. Otherwise, it is just at the very base value a black mana, and with some upsides on the back end. We did get stuck with 2 Invokes of Calamity, which again, in a sealed environment where you really need to kind of spread your resources amongst 2 colors. Otherwise, you're going to get really thin on creatures or spells or something that you don't truly enjoy. Getting 4 red mana spells into a deck is incredibly hard, especially in a sealed environment. So unless this stack is amazing, all of these little red guys are just incredible, and they make a perfect curved deck for themselves, then we'll happily slot those in. But at the moment, I don't know if I truly enjoy those too much. We'll get back to those. Secondly, we got Ryu Storm's Edge. He's a red-white 4-drop 3/3 first strike. It says whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, untap it. If it's the first combat, take an additional combat. I mean, who doesn't love that? Pretty solid all around. And then over here in the far end, we got the Restoration of Iganjo for 3 mana. It's a saga that says, for the first one, search your library for planes, put it in your hand. Second one, you may discard a card. When you do, return a permanent card with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now, I'm assuming that also includes lands, so that seems pretty cool. And on the backside, it turns into a 3/4 Vigilant. Whenever he attacks or blocks, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. So, just on face value, obviously we didn't get anything in our blue and greens. Makes it extremely hard to kind of... I shouldn't say that. If these colors are amazing, yes, we'll definitely go down that route and maybe splash in some of these rares if we see fit. But at the moment, I see these guys as just kind of taking a backseat, if not being the secondary or tertiary color for this deck. So kind of what we're looking here is black, red, and white to kind of match with our power cards being the rares. I do have a stack up here of just like cards, in my opinion, that just didn't make the cut. This is usually how I go through my pre-releases. When I first pull them out, I'll lay them all out. I'll have a row of bad and a row of good, and then just go through each color and actually sort them out. Seven Tail Mentor, 2/3 for 4 mana, base value, nothing too crazy. It puts a 1 counter. Again, it's a filler card. Imperial Oath, 6-drop, sorcery, create 3 2/2 samurai creatures with vigilance, scry 3. Fine, 6 mana. I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's hard. But again, if we're looking for creatures, fine, that might be something we lean on. Goshen Tai of Shared Purpose, 4 mana for 1/3. It's fine. It's got vigilance at the beginning of your end step. You may pay 1 if you do create a 1/1 spirit token for each shrine you control. So long term, it does have an effect to be like a creature producer. Again, fine, good gap filler, but 4 mana for 1/3 is kind of hard, and it's a long game plan. Like, it's going to take a while. You're going to want an army out of that. It's going to take a while to build an army. Go to the Blues Moonsnare Specialist is a 4 mana 2/2 with Ninjutsu for 3. Fine, it can return a 1 target creature to its owner's hand, so it's got a nice little kind of combat sneakiness there. I suppose it's fine. It's okay. Really, our main goal would be to do Ninjutsu for 3. But in my opinion, in a sealed environment, trying to swing and have nothing get blocked, again, is a long shot, especially if you're in blue, you're looking for a long game. So unless it's paired with like a red-white early game, maybe you can get a little more sneaky there. But as the game progresses, they're going to get more creatures, and they'll have more to block with. Again, another fancy dancy Moonsnare. We got a Moonfolk Puzzle Maker, which is a flying 1/4, 3 mana. Fine. It's fine. It's flying. It's 1/4. It'll block a bunch of things, but you know, in the end of the day, you kind of just want to be able to swing and win. It is an artifact creature, which has potential to play into some of the artifact abilities that they have in the set. Whenever it becomes tapped, scry 1, so you're more looking for when it attacks. Short Circuit is a flash aura that gives something -3, -0 and loses flying. Fine. Like, again, it's kind of a cool little, haha, your thing you thought you could swing and get it through, now you can't. It's nothing too crazy. The creature will still remain and still be an issue long term. Seba Trespasser is the 5 mana, 3/5 that has channel, that lets you tap 2 creatures and those don't untap to the next untap step. Again, fine. It's just 4 mana for 3/5. Again, it's kind of gap filler. At the end of the green, we're into the Favor of Jukai for 4 mana aura that says creature gets bigger. It also has channel for 2. It says creature gets bigger. It's kind of a win more card in my mind. Nothing too crazy. Oh, only 1 green. Undercity Scrounger. Again, it's a 3 mana with 1/4 that just creates treasure tokens if a creature died. I mean, it's just, you can't do much. You're creating treasures, you're waiting for things to die. It's just long term, not good in a sealed environment. Clawing Torment for 1 mana aura. Target creature gets -1/-1, can't block, so that's kind of nice. And long term, beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they lose a life. Again, nothing too crazy. It just kind of shuts down a little creature if necessary. It's minor removal, just makes it's not hard removal as we call it. Mukotai Ambusher, that's a word. 4 mana for a 3/2 with lifelink. Fine, it's good. Again, we're really aiming for the Ninjutsu 2, which is actually pretty good for a 3/2 lifelink. But again, we're kind of balancing between can you get creatures through and when. So this might come into play if we need more creatures. Not too bad. We got a foil one. So pretty. And then we got Goshen Tai of Hidden Cruelty, a 4 mana 2/2 Death Touch. Again, at the beginning of end step, pay 1 if you do destroy target creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control. I mean, there's not a ton of shrines. I think we saw 1 white one in here, and we saw this black one. So, I mean, at most, you're just pecking off their little dudes. Again, it's fine. But again, you're paying 4 mana for a 2/2. The nice thing is that it does have Death Touch, so it could be a gap filler if necessary. Dragon Spark Reactor, 2 mana for an artifact that, well, I guess it does things when other artifacts enter the battlefield, but it's nothing too crazy. You got to pay 4 to sacrifice it and deal damage places. It's fine. But again, in a small environment, you're probably not going to have the massive amounts of artifacts you would hope. Even in this set, again, my thought is don't aim for the fine line. Play for the bigger potential because it's again a game of chance. You still have 39 other cards that you're trying to work through to make the deck work, instead of just boiling it down to one card and hoping and praying it works. So again, it's just not good in a sealed environment. The Shattered States of Era, okay, is a 5-mana saga that says first one, gain control of target creature, untap it, it gains haste. Second one, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, and then it flips into a 3/3 that has trample haste. Fine. I mean, by turn 5, 6, 7, getting a 3/3 trample haste is nothing crazy. You're really just trying to play it to steal the creature for a turn, maybe sacrifice it somewhere, get some kind of value. It's a surprise. Ooh, we won for a turn. Or if you go wide and you actually do have a pretty large creature build, you can lean on the second one as well. But from what I saw, it's not like we don't have that kind of build right now. Experimental Synthesizer is a 1-mana artifact that says enters the battlefield or leaves, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. You can pay 3 and sacrifice it and create a 2/2 samurai creature with vigilance. Activate only as a sorcerer. Again, it's fine. In red, it's kind of like minor card draw. And then late game kind of gets you a little creature. I just wasn't too impressed with it. Red, again, we got a 3-drop 4/1 artifact. When you enter the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. It kind of works good with the flow of a red-white deck. You really just want to kind of punch them in the face the first couple turns, and making something unblockable, or not able to block for the first turn, is good. Destroy target artifact, put a 1 counter somewhere on a creature. It's fine. Again, I think this is more of a sideboard, especially in a limited environment. You just don't know what you're up against. Game 1, if you see a bunch of artifacts, sure, bring it in, make some use out of it. But for now, I think it belongs definitely in the sideboard. So those are our no-goes. I think what I'm going to do here is put our blue-greens off to the side for a moment, and we will focus on kind of these 3 main colors because of our rares. And just to let you know, when it comes to artifacts, colorless artifacts, these aren't too crazy. We got 2 of them that tap for color. You can pay 1 and tap another untapped artifact to draw a card, discard a card. Sure, that's fine. 4 mana for a 2/4 when he enters the battlefield. Add a counter to each permanent of that kind that you choose, blah, blah, blah. Fine, it's kind of like a proliferate. But a 4 mana for a 2/4, nothing too crazy. And then lastly, here in the back, we got a 5-drop 3/2. Enters the battlefield. Search a library for an aura or shrine, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. So I look at these again as kind of spot fillers. They go in any deck, they're any color. If we need some kind of mana fixing in in a wide color deck, sure, we'll lean on these. Adding counters places, that's for the sagas. I understand that 1/1 counters are pretty rampant right now. But again, not something I really want to lean on. So when you're looking at it, I see a 2/4 for 4 mana. If you have it in your hand and you have no board, that's kind of how I look at this game. So pretend you're at your worst and just expect that not everything is going amazing. Okay? So again, 4 mana for a 2/4. Again, if we start building this thing and we see a lot of 1/1 counters, we may lean back on this and consider it a little bit more. And then 5 mana for a 3/2. Again, when I look at this, I see a 5 mana for a 3/2. Sure. 5 mana, again, is pretty late in the game. I don't think there's any crazy sagas to put anything over the top that we're really looking for. And again, the shrines that we saw are not amazing. So I always leave these, again, as spot fillers. And same thing with our multicolored cards. It really depends on what the main chunk of our deck looks like. If we build it and we have multicolored cards that fit into those colors, then sure. Then we'll consider them at that point. But until then, these are going to sit over with the artifacts, and we'll talk about these later if necessary. Okay, so since we kind of hit a pretty good jackpot on our black here, let's kind of walk through and just take a look at what we're working with our blacks and see what I thought was appealing to me. So first off, we got a 2 mana 1/1 beetle that says when he enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. From what I've seen in the black so far is that we don't have a ton of 1-drops, especially creatures. So being an artifact creature by itself and also getting you card advantage against your opponent. On turn 2, it turns into a blocker. There's a couple dudes in here. It kind of negates their 1-drops because hopefully you should be able to trade a 1/1 for their 1-drops, but it also gets them down a card immediately, so that always seems good to me. I've always enjoyed those. Return to action, this was kind of the borderline between good and bad. It's a good gap filler. It kind of acts as a removal spell in the sense that it says whenever target creature gets +1/+1 and gains lifelink, but when it dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So in this situation, you're looking at they're swinging at you, and you have blockers, and you're willing to, you have a large blocker, or even a small death touch blocker that you're willing to throw in front of it. You give it this, takes away their creature, you get yours back, or another ETB effect that you want to have trigger again. This will take consideration, but I do see it as like a minor removal spell, and gets you up a creature. Dokuchi Silencer. God, these names are just killing me. We got a 2-mana, 2/1. So just at base value, we get our money's worth right there. We at least get 2 power for 2 mana. Can't really complain. It's got ninjutsu that says whenever it deals combat damage, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. You may be thinking, I don't want to get rid of my creatures. What happens if I have a creature in my hand that I love? Don't get rid of that. Like, in this situation, you're looking at a scenario where you're either late game and you have a bunch of like small creatures in your hand that you're like, I really don't care, but I need to get rid of one of their bigger dudes, or an issue that they have on their battlefield, or it's early game and you really can't get to your late creatures, but they have an issue that you need to get rid of. It's just a good option to have always some form of hard removal, and when I say hard removal, I mean spot removal as destroy target creature, exile target creature, or -5 for something large enough to get it off the battlefield. That's what I say when I mean hard removal. It's a good option. At the very least, it's a 2-mana, 2/1. Again, looking at our early games, not a ton of options there, so we'll lean on that. Debt to the Kami is a 3-mana instant speed. Says target opponent exiles a creature they control, or target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. Again, this is a form of hard removal. Yes, if they have a large board or if they have tokens, it makes it a little more fishy, but at that point you can maybe go after their enchantment. There's a bunch of sagas in this set that seem like issues in long term. Having an option for a saga removal or some of these enchantment creatures, that's a good one to keep on. I forgot that they brought back an enchantment creature type, so that's a good way to target an enchantment creature if they only have one enchantment creature. So it gives you options, but at the very least, again, it's putting you up a creature and them down a creature, or lets you go after one of their enchantments. I do enjoy it. Again, we'll play with it as we go. Secondly, we got Lethal Exploit for 2-mana instant speed, -2/-2 until end of turn, or it gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each modified creature you control when you cast a spell. So I do enjoy this card a lot. You're getting -2/-2 for 2 mana at the very least. Like, there's no doubt about that. That's happening. Now, let's say you have a couple creatures that have 1/1 counters on them, or even an equipment. This is where it gets bigger and you have more options for targets. So I think all around this could be seen as hard removal. It has more scenarios to be played than a -1/-1. It has a higher upper level potential than the other ones. But at the very least, you get -2/-2 and it gets something off the field. I do enjoy it. Malicious Malfunction is 3 mana. All creatures get -2/-2. If a creature would die this turn, exile it. Again, this is kind of cool in the sense that it's a mini board wipe. Okay, and the way that you normally try to play board wipes is, if you know you got it, it's in hand, and you know that they're playing hard. If they see that you're not playing creatures, they may think that you just don't have any creatures, or you have to wait till turn 3 or 4 to get creatures out. They may start putting in harder to come after you faster, which will make this a bigger payoff in the end. It's great against token decks. It's really good at leveling the board, but keep in mind it does come after you as well, so you got to kind of play around it a little bit. But I do enjoy my board wipes, especially in a sealed environment. Twisted Embrace is a 4-mana aura that says enchant artifact or creature. So that's kind of cool. So you can even put it on like a treasure if you wanted to, or more importantly, you're supposed to put it on a vehicle or a creature to kind of get its full potential here. But it says when it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. As long as enchantment or permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 all the time. So it's hard removal. The only stipulation is that you need to have a creature or an artifact. Doesn't really seem too hard, but can kind of come back to bite you in the butt at some point in time. But good hard removal. I do enjoy it. Dokachi Shadow Walker is a 6-mana 5/5. Oh my god. But it does have ninjutsu for 4, so again our intent is to try and get this in cheaper, and we'll try our best to do that. Wow, the camera just never really wants to work. I guess I'm not going to... just take my word for it. So we're again looking at this as like a ninjutsu 4-drop 5/5. Long-term game plan. It's at the high end of the curve, so if we get there, we'll at least have a 5/5. And for what I've seen out of the set so far, it doesn't look like there's a ton of high-end creatures, so this should be able to go toe-to-toe with a lot of the creatures in the set right now. And then in the back end, we just got a second one. So that's pretty cool. It looked like our curve is kind of top and bottom, with not a ton of creatures. I think, how many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not a ton. This is where I start considering maybe as like a splash color. It's harder to consider as like a main color. Yes, you got a little bit in the front. Yes, you get a little bit in the back. But at this point in time, it's where you start looking at it and going, I'll take the removal and I'll take the high-end rares and we'll make those our splash colors into what hopefully will be a better build with our low-end kind of punch you in the face kind of early game red-white deck. So we'll look through this. We got Simian Sling as a 1-drop, 1/1 at the very least. It has Reconfigure, which is a really cool mechanic. You can pay 2 to attach it to a creature control or unattach it from a creature. You can only do it at equipment speed, which is fine. But it's a 1-drop creature. There's not a ton of these. Reinforced Ronin, again, a 1-mana haste 2/2. Good stuff. I do enjoy it. It kind of gets in those early punches, especially in the early game when no one has anybody to block with. Just look at it as like a shock. Okay, you're definitely shocking them in the face for 1 mana. Yes, he doesn't stick around. He comes to your hand at the end of turn, but even just getting like 2 to 4 mana or damage in, long term that's going to work out for you. And then once you can't do it anymore, you can channel him or channel him, discard him, and draw a card. Seems all right. Like, I mean, a cycle effect. So once he doesn't prove useful anymore, you can eventually cycle him away and get a new card for it. Good in any time you draw him. I do enjoy him. Rabbit Battery is another 1-drop. 1-drop haste, 1/1. Again, we're hitting a good range of 1-drops here in our red. Equipment creature gets a haste and +1/+1 for Reconfigure red. Great. I mean, I really can't complain. It's a 1-drop. What are you expecting? It gives you something to do in the early turns or turns into a beneficial equipment. I do like it. Key Ronin is a 2-drop 1/3. It says whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So the cool thing about this, I mean, it's a samurai warrior ninja set. You're gonna have samurais. You're gonna have warriors. You don't necessarily need to attack with him specifically. But if you need to get a card draw, go for it. Swing with him, get your card draw, discard a card, land, whatever you don't need. If you're desperate, he still has uses, and you can still get use out of him. So if you're swinging with the full team, they may not want to block a 1/3. They may want to block your 5/5. I don't blame them. So it has a couple good purposes long term. Works with a lot of different cards in the deck by itself without having to do much. We got Twin Shot Sniper as a 4-drop 2/3 with Reach. When he enters the battlefield, he deals 2 damage somewhere. He shocks something. That's great. That's great. You can go to the face if you can't get any of their creatures. You can get one of their creatures off the field, and again, try to go up on creature count versus them. He's a great card. He does a lot for 4 mana. You can channel him, and he turns into a shock for 2 mana. So if you don't have the 4 mana and they're beating you with some of their small drops, you can't get there. Just take him out. Discard him for 2 mana, deal the 2 damage. He's good. He's good at many levels of your turns, of your curves. He'll come in useful at many points in the game. Kami of Industry is a 5-mana 3/6, so he's got a big butt. He's got a little bit more in the power area to block and get some of these things off the battlefield from your opponent's side. It says when he enters the battlefield, return target artifact with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end stuff. So, I mean, even just in red alone, right here we have
4 artifacts to deal with. Like, let's say they start taking care of your 1-drops, or you've cycled away your Reinforced Ronin. Again, even just when he enters the battlefield, being able to punch in again for 2 damage, and still long-term have a 3/6 blocker that can swing. Like, he's still swingable. He's hard to block. He's hard to get off the field. I do enjoy him. He's a good 5 mana fill. In the back here, we got a 6-drop 5/4. Again, just there's limited options for your bigger creatures in some of these pre-release events. So when you get presented with 5 mana, 6 mana, 7 mana creatures, you kind of gotta consider them in the match, because eventually you're going to run out of steam. You need to run into your 4, 5, 6, 7 drops, and keep pace with your opponent. I mean, these red-white decks, sure, they can get in there pretty quick, but eventually they're going to build a board that you can't get past, and you got to start putting down your own beef to keep up with them. He has Trample Haste 5/4 for 6, but at the very least he has Channel. Again, great in a red-white build. If you know that you're having issues to get to your 6 mana, or you're really close and you just need to get something off the battlefield, or you're close on damage, you can pitch it for 2 mana to give target creature +3/+1 gain to trample. Like, it's good removal. It turns itself into removal, and has, again, just purposes at every level of your curve within the game. I do enjoy it. Kami's Flare is 2 mana, deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. It also deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller if you control a modified creature. It's removal. In a limited sense, you gotta keep an eye out for your removal spells and really focus on them. And kind of, at least the way that I build my decks, I try and focus my builds around where my removal is. Because again, creature for creature, the farther you can get up on their creature count, the better off you'll be. The more swings you can get in and feel confident, even if they trade 1 for 1, it gives you a little more leeway to be more aggressive with your creature and hopefully eventually win. So again, Kami's Flare, 3 damage, good removal across many of the creatures in this set. Akai Warpaint for 1 mana aura, enchanted permanent, gets +2/+1. It's a pump spell, and especially in like a smaller deck, again red-white, you're dealing with a lot of 1 to 4 mana creatures. They're not huge, and mid to late game, you gotta take the creatures you have and buff them up, or at least be able to get your bigger creatures above your opponent's bigger creatures. And for 1 mana, it seems worth it. It gives you the power in the early game to keep punching them and to keep moving forward and to keep applying pressure. So I do enjoy this one. It's a float card. If it doesn't fit, if you have better removal instead, go with the removal, but this allows you to be pretty aggressive with your smaller creatures. Ambitious Assault for 3 mana, instant speed. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control a modified creature, draw a card. So this, I see it as, yes, it's a dream card. It's great if everything's going good. But it is a game winner. And when you're dealing with red-white, sometimes you're able to swing in and they have them at 10 life and you're swinging for 5. They can go, okay, I just need to get to next turn. They may take less blocks, which will allow you to play this and actually win. And again, in a red-white deck, you need to take the creatures that you have in your early game and make them threats in the late game. And this is where this will come in for a late game win, hopefully. So keep this in mind for potential. Flame Discharge is a red and an X for an instant speed. It deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you control a modified creature, cast a spell, it deals X +2 to that creature instead. So again, if you have a 1 counter on creature, you can pay 1 mana and basically just it turns itself into a shock. It's good, flexible removal. I do enjoy it. Voltage Surge for 1 mana is an instant speed. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. Deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell's additional cost was paid, it's a may. You may sacrifice an artifact. If this spell's additional cost is paid, it deals 4 damage instead. So it's a shock at the very least. Again, solid removal just to get your small things through in the early game. That seems like a pretty solid color. We'll swipe over here to the white here. We got a 1 mana flying 1/1. It's great evasion, especially in a sealed environment. Flying is good, and then towards the end of the game, being able to tap down some of the big stuff so your big stuff can get through is it's pretty good stuff. Do enjoy it. Kitsune Ace is a 2 mana 2/2. Again, at base value, it's good enough. Whenever a vehicle is crewed by this dude, it gets first strike, or Yeah, or you may untap Kitsune Race. We don't have a lot of vehicles in this pack, unfortunately. But at the very least, the 2-mana 2/2. Again, we're kind of low on creatures, and if we're going to go for a red-white build, we really want to keep them low so that we can flood the board early and get in as many punches as we can before they can. Norika Yamazaki, the Poet, is a 3-mana 3/2 Vigilance that says whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast a target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. It's good. Again, you don't have to swing with him. You can swing with any warrior or samurai. It works with the little red dude that we got in here. We do have some pump up enchantments. We also have sagas that work as well. So I think all around, just for what she is, she's good, but she does more on top of that, and we're not going to complain. Befriending the Moss for 4 mana is a saga that says target creature gets +1/+1 and flying until end of turn for the first 2 sagas. Again, taking our 1 to 3 drops and making them issues still in the 4 to plus turns is kind of what we're looking for. So it takes those early drops and gives them flying and +1. So you can, again, just keep punching with some form of evasion. I do like it. And then just eventually turns into a 2/4 with flying, has its own evasion, turns into a creature. I do like it. Michiko's Reign of Truth for 2 mana saga. We get target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each artifact and or enchantment you control. Again, we have enough artifacts as creatures back here in our red build, and sagas and auras. Like, I think this thing will be a very good card in this build specifically, and then turns over into at least a 1/1, like at the very least. But you're still getting a creature to block something coming back, or it could be huge. Who knows? Just creatures win games in sealed events. Sunblade Samurai, 5 mana 4/4 Vigilance. You may pay 2 to discard him and search your library for basic planes, put it in your hand, gain 2 life. Again, late game, you get a creature. Early game, you get mana fixing and mana ramp. I shouldn't say ramp, but mana fixing, and keeps the mana going so that way you can cast larger and larger creatures. Again, has uses late game and early game. And Vigilance. Oh, really can't complain about that. Do enjoy it. Wanderer's Intervention. For 2 mana, we have an instant speed that says deals 4 damage to target creature, attacking or blocking creature. Its removal, 4 mana, takes care of a lot of creatures in the set. You just have to be patient and understand where and when to use this. But 4 mana should take care of a lot of creatures, both before blocking and after blocking. So if they block your 1/1, you do 4 more damage to them. You're taking out a 5 toughness creature. Repel the Vile is 4 mana instant speed, exile target creature with power 4 or greater, or exile target enchantment. It's good, okay? Again, creatures win games. It kind of comes down to if the game stalls out, you're going to be really leaning on your heavy creatures, same with them, and this just takes them out of the game. Can't really complain. Light the Way is a 1 mana instant speed, +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle. Untap it, or return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. It's good on both effects. It can turn a blocking creature that doesn't look like it's able to block it, like if attack last turn, you can untap it, turn it into a blocker, block something that they didn't think was going to be able to be blocked, or you can get something out of a way of removal. It just has multiple purposes. I do enjoy it. Ancestral Katana for 2 mana. Whenever a samurai or warrior control attacks alone, you may pay 1. If you do attach it to a katana, to it. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Equip 3, I mean, that's there, but we're really not focused on that. The main goal is here to get it in for the 1 mana, which seems doable. Okay, so this is everything we're working with. At this point, we can start considering Invoke Calamity. Maybe not both of them. I don't think we want to do that much. But if we stick to these 2 colors, you could play a couple hands, play a couple games, especially by turn 5. You might be able to have the mana to do that. I play carefully with it. Over here in our multicolored lands, we do have some options. Like we have Uncharted Haven, which lets you tap for any color, which is nice. And in the back here, I mean, we do have a red-green. I wouldn't really consider that. But we do have at least a couple lands that let you play more colors. But it's a really touchy card. This would be something that you'd end up with in your hand, and just your luck, you would end up with 3 red mana, and you'd never actually get to the 4th. And you'd pull your hair out and probably flip the table. But so I would play very carefully with these. I personally would not put my hopes and dreams on those. They're good at what they do, but I really wouldn't focus on them. My focus would be red-white. I think red-white would be really solid. I think you'd have a good curve here, and we'll look at that curve. But this is, again, where you could maybe start considering splashing in some of these black cards. Trying to splash in a double black is really hard. Like, I don't think you should really aim to do that. Double black hard cast removal, again, it's good, but the double black gets really touchy, especially in a splash color. Again, our double black board wipe. And then you kind of get into the smaller things that really don't have as big of a punch and really aren't worth the splash. So these are questionable. I would tiptoe carefully with those. Again, black land. At the very least, it's black mana. If you're going to make black your splash, just play this. Maybe sometimes you'll get used to get it as a channel land, but nothing too crazy. Tatsunari Toad Rider. We do have a good amount of enchantments in this build, in this red-white build. So he might actually become kind of useful in at least pooping out a 3/3 frog that does some stuff sometimes. So if you're really wanting to push, or if you need creatures, I would definitely consider doing the Tatsunari Toad Rider, just because he has a couple uses. And he's good. He's good. He's great. We love him. He's flying, menace 5/5 for 5. What is there to hate? He does a bunch of stuff on the back end. This is the only dude that I would really consider allowing the double black in there, because he is that big of a punch. If we're really going to do this, I would definitely just use this guy for the double black. And you're going to run into a lot of situations where double black becomes hard if you do run that. But again, we have our multicolored land, and if we are going for the black, we have Scored Barrens. If you really want to play Secluded Courtyard, you can name Spirit or Dragon and have more options there to really play on long term. But I mean, we do have I didn't even see. We might have a couple spirits in here that will get more use out of Secluded Courtyard. But again, this is a great card, by the way. It taps for any color at the very least, so really can't complain about that. So in my opinion, I would say Junji, maybe play with it a couple times, see if it's a good or bad. Definitely play the land, and then play your Tatsunari Toad Rider. So we'll leave these off to the side for now. I really wouldn't put much hope into them. But let's just take a look quick at our red-white build. When I do pre-release events, I tend to take what I have currently, and I'll put spells at the top and I'll put creatures on the bottom just to see where the curve is. And again, you win games with creatures here. So you want to focus on where your creatures are at and if they're even worth playing. Okay, nice little 6-drop here. When I build, I consider 5 and up to be my big drops. Okay, because it's hard to get to 5 mana, especially in a limited environment. Don't always focus on it. Don't always expect to get there. It's sometimes tough to get there. So I always just call them all those and above, my 5 drops and above, the big drop creatures. Okay, so our 1 drops there. We got our nice little 4-drop. Nice little removal. Another 5-drop here. Good God. Oh, running out of room. Saga, you could almost call those creatures. You could almost call them creatures, but I'm not going to call them creatures. More so for the sense that they're not. They're just not, like right away they're not creatures. You have to just expect that and accept that. So what are we working with? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 creatures? It's an amount. Like normally when you're playing a pre-release event, you kind of want to aim for 15 creatures. 12 is on the low end. We do have a lot of 1-drops, which makes me a little wary. But I think overall we got 12 for creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I forgot this little guy. We got 12 here for non-creatures. Now remember that our sagas will eventually turn into creatures, so you could make an argument for that. Fine, that's great. But with the turn they come in, you cannot consider them creatures. You won't have them for blockers. They're hard to lean on, but long game they should come through for you. I think this looks okay. I think what we're working with, I think this looks pretty good. If you really wanted to slip in another 5 mana here, and the 3-drop to kind of boost your creature count. You can do that. It doesn't look bad. But this would probably be the build that I would look to do. Not too bad. I think this is a playable deck. It does what red-white is supposed to do. I think that'll be a good deck, though. It's something worth playing. Normally when I build, I try to make 2 decks. One is like a sideboard deck. The other is like your main go-to deck. They're both good. Just leave one as a complete sideboard deck, because they're never going to see it coming. Okay, you're just going to have your one main deck, and they're going to go, okay, I know what's in that deck. You swap it out, and they're completely left in the blind again. I do enjoy building 2 decks. They always seem fun to me. I'll run through this quick, just because when I was looking through this, the green-black build seemed okay. It seemed playable. It didn't seem amazing. But yeah, a lot of mana for that guy. But I think this also would be a pretty good build. Let me know what you think. Land, always just land. Can't complain. 2 giant dudes. So the reason why this scared me was that, yes, we have more hard removal, and we have more options to get things off the battlefield, but that's kind of all that we have. Like, again, we're pretty low on creatures. I don't even know if I want that. Pretty low on creatures, as you can see here. We got, what, 8, 7, and 11 creatures? Ugh, oh my gosh. We're putting a lot of hopes and dreams into these last 6-drop creatures. But again, you can try your best to use your removal to get to your late game. Again, I just don't enjoy thoroughly waiting for the late game. The green looked fine. It had a couple options for finding your mana and fixing your mana and getting to your bigger drops, but again, you have to wait pretty far into the game to get there. Again, doesn't seem great. You could maybe look at putting white in here and trying to get some kind of white with some of the Aura Saga stuff to play off some of your sagas up here. This was a weaker build in my mind. It's just slow. It would definitely lose if you brought up the red-white deck against it. This deck should definitely be able to punch in there before this deck even gets set up. So yeah, those are my thoughts, especially for my build. I don't think we're going to have time to go through the girlfriend's build. I really haven't even looked at that yet. So please let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. I'm sure I missed a ton. Again, go easy on me. I haven't played this set. But let me know what you see. Let me know what you guys saw during your pre-releases, what you guys are seeing on Arena. I just have not had the time to play this, but it seems fun. There's a lot of interaction, a lot of uniqueness to the cards and the builds that you guys can pull together. So I hope you guys had a good weekend with it, and yeah, we'll look to see you in the next video. Thanks for coming along. Talk to you next time.